Great Canadian Fight Show, episode 18. Welcome back, fight fans. Tom Aspinall and Volkov just went off last weekend at UFC Fight Night London. And holy crap, if you haven't watched this one, this is one of the best fight night cards that we have ever seen. And as usual, the Great Canadian Fight Show is here to react to it. I'm one half your co-host, Alex Deudesel, reporting live from beautiful Calgary, Alberta. Joined, as always, by my brilliant co-host, the brilliant Kyle Allen. Taxes are due every year, Kyle. The seasons change, and here we go again with you kicking my ass, picking fights at a UFC card, man. What do you have to say for yourself, buddy? How we doing today?
What do you do? What do you do when you're the pick master, right? No, man, everything's good. Hard to be disappointed after last weekend's fights. Like you said, it was arguably one of the best pay-per-views I've seen, or not even a pay-per-view, it was a fight night, but it seemed like a pay-per-view. It had all the, I would argue it was probably the best fight night since Khabib and Conor.
Whew. That was a pay-per-view though, wasn't it?
That was a pay-per-view, but I'm just saying like a fight card in general.
Fight card overall since Khabib and Conor. Holy, wild claim. Yeah. Not that wild. I'm with it. I mean, that was nuts, Kyle. All the hometown heroes won. I mean, could you have made a better night for English UFC?
No, MMA. It had everything. I have zero complaints on this card. It was an amazing card.
Well, let's get right into it. Starting with our main event, hometown boy Tom Aspinall looked amazing in the main event against legitimate contender Alexander Volkov. I mean, he dominated him for the whole fight, made it look easy. Is he a legitimate threat to Ngannou, Kyle, or anybody who's holding the belt? I mean, you can't say Ngannou. There's some uncertainty there, but is he a threat to the throne?
For sure. I think so. I think just a few months ago, you had Cyril Gane being like the big talk, his striking, the way he moves and stuff like this. In my opinion, Tom Aspinall is almost a better version than that. He has jiu-jitsu, he has ground game. He basically is probably one of the most well-rounded heavyweights. Maybe not naming John Jones because we haven't seen him at heavyweight, but if he can do what he did at lightweight or light heavyweight, then. But yeah, he is definitely one to watch out for in the heavyweight division, and it's very interesting seeing some of these heavyweights that have like the skills of like a lightweight, basically.
I love it. I haven't seen a heavyweight move like that since Rocky Balboa in Rocky 3 when he cut all that weight and he found his eye of the tiger. You know, I mean, that was, man, he was moving slick and he looked awesome. Tom Aspinall, man, I mean, do you think this fight gets him maybe a number one contender fight? I mean, he was calling out Tai Tuivasa, who's I believe is rumored to be fighting Stipe, but what do you foresee in the future for Tom Aspinall?
Yeah, I really like that fight. I hope they put together that Tai Tuivasa fight. I know he's supposed to fight Stipe, or that's the rumor, but I have a suspicious feeling that there's talks about John Jones coming back this year. I'm thinking Stipe is probably going to hold out for the John Jones fight if he can get that fight over the Tai Tuivasa fight. So this fight could line up for a big other fight in England, maybe later this year.
And we would love to see it. I mean, Tom Aspinall looked unreal, puts on a clinic against Volkov again, who's no joke at all at heavyweight, puts himself firmly in the title weight picture. So congratulations to Tom Aspinall. It's about the only guy I think that I picked right that night. So I'm going to take my dabs, and it's all downhill from here, folks. But there's one guy that everybody was excited to see on Saturday night. And who do you think that was, Kyle?
Well, there's a few guys actually, but we're going to go with.
Oh, Paddy the Baddy. Oh, Paddy the Baddy. Man, everybody was there to see Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, and he came in and absolutely delivered on Saturday night with a beautiful first round finish via submission. He was in trouble early, but again, he delivered on his first round finish. Did Paddy Pimblett live up to the hype on Saturday night, Kyle?
Yeah, for sure. I guess the main question coming into this one was if he could handle the pressure being at home in front of a crowd. And coming off his last fight. He got clipped in his last fight, but he still won. Same thing this fight, he got clipped, but that judo throw he threw on the guy and then was able to finish him off. Like he has the skills for sure. Like it's very interesting to see where this guy can go in the lightweight division.
He's a big lightweight too. Featherweight, isn't it?
No, it's lightweight.
Oh, it is lightweight. My apologies, people. But yeah, he's a big lightweight. I mean, impressive that he's never had issues with his weight cut or anything in his young, illustrious career. But again, he looked phenomenal. That judo throw, like you said, oh my God, a thing of absolute beauty. I got to ask, Kyle, I know it's early on in the Paddy Pimblett career here in the UFC, but does he have what it takes to be the next Golden Goose, to be the next McGregor for the UFC? What do you think?
If he can keep going on a run, kind of like Connor did, where he's winning these fights, having a few fights against, I guess potentially some of these not so known guys, but then ends up fighting some top level guys. I think for sure the way he's going, the backing he has, he's the only guy, maybe not naming Sean O'Malley, that has that kind of following that a Conor McGregor has. So I definitely think it's possible, but he has to win fights. He has to keep winning fights. He can't afford to like lose a fight and then he might lose some hype.
I love guys also that they seem to have made a good career for themselves, like before they get to the UFC, you know, like they're not like trying to grow in the UFC, like they're trying to go in there as a big name. Do you see that as being like more the norm going forward? Like, you know, for example, like guys taking the Paddy Pimblett route where he was a champion in another organization. Do you see that as being more of the norm going forward?
Yeah, I think like he's basically following the same thing as Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, I believe, was the champion in the same organization, Cage
That's
Warriors.
right.
So
Yep.
it's very similar. I think Conor came into the UFC not late in his career, but he definitely came in maybe around like 25 or something like that. I can't remember the exact date, but yeah, like I think having more experience early on definitely helps rather than just being a young guy getting thrown to the wolves. A prime example of that would probably be like in Bellator, Aaron Pico. In the beginning, when they threw him in there, he was kind of a young, toted prospect, and he ended up kind of suffering some big losses, fighting too stiff competition and stuff like that. So as long as the UFC does it right and brings this guy up properly, doesn't feed him to the wolves immediately, then he's got all the makings for a star.
Absolutely. I mean, man, it's just the crowd, like the walkout with Paddy Pimblett, how everybody got into it. I mean, it was so surreal. I mean, I was actually, I got to say it, I was kind of half more excited for the walkout than the fight because I just love it when guys come out to their home crowd, and he delivered too. So congratulations to Paddy Pimblett. Again, he looked amazing that night. We skipped a fight though, talking about Paddy Pimblett because again, he's such a big star and he was the center attraction. But Arnold Allen, Kyle's distant cousin, who's British, came in and kind of played spoiler on Saturday night, defeated Dan Hooker in his featherweight debut via first round knockout. Let me get your immediate reaction, Kyle. I mean, did the result shock you?
Yeah, so I really like Dan Hooker, but Arnold Allen came in there like looking like a destroyer. Dan Hooker looked good early on. He had some good moments early on, but once Arnold, I think he kind of dropped Arnold Allen, didn't he? I think at one point.
Amongst the barrage, yeah, he'd already been hit.
I think he rocked him, I think. But once he got going, Arnold Allen, like that combination he threw looked very. If you remember that, very very back in the day, Vitor Belfort when he came. I forget who he was fighting, and he came across and he just like
throwback.
Yeah. He basically ran across the ring just throwing punches. It was very similar to that, and Arnold Allen looked really good, real crisp, and man, some of these guys coming up. This is the prime of watching fighting is just seeing these younger guys and seeing what the next level of competition is, and it's all these guys on this card were that.
Do you think that was the game plan for Allen, was to just come out and throw the kitchen sink at Hooker because maybe he was a little bit burnt out and what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't want to say deflated, but that's not the word I'm looking for here. but just like too drained, I guess, from the weight cut. So just come out and just blitz him in the first round? Or do you think he just saw an opening and just went for it?
It could have been part of his game plan. Like it was kind of very Kai France versus Cody Garbrandt. Like
Great comparison.
I think these guys don't want to let, like, they know they want to try to, like, they're cutting weight going back down into a division. They probably want at least like a round to kind of feel out the division, but they're smart and they don't give it to them and they just blitz them, and it worked out for both of them. So maybe that's a good strategy. It also in the same thing. What's his face? Cejudo versus Dillashaw, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe maybe it is a game plan. Maybe they just don't want to let them get comfortable at that weight class and then just take them out real quick. It seemed to work 3 for 3. So
yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. 70% of the time, it works every time. A wise man said that once. I remember. But again, congratulations to Arnold Allen. I mean, does this win put him in the title picture? What do you think, Kyle?
I don't think quite yet. I'm curious. I'm just going to bring up the rankings because I don't know if they.
I got him here for you. So we're talking featherweight rankings. We've got Arnold Allen moving up to number 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know Calvin Kattar right there. Just
so that
for him, or Yair Rodriguez. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So that's the talk of the town is him versus Calvin Kattar, which would be I'm all for it. Throw that fight later this year at the O2 Arena once again, and I'm there. I'm not there, but maybe I'll be there. Who knows?
Maybe we'll be there. Maybe we'll be there, folks. Awesome prediction, Kyle. I love it. Yeah, I mean that's the fight right there. Both those guys love to scrap. Kattar's durable at 145, so he won't just fall to the blitz. Allen going to have to be a little bit more disciplined in that one. But again, he looked fantastic on Saturday night. Yeah. Unfortunately, in every fight, there is a winner and there is a loser. And this puts Dan Hooker in a very strange predicament, unfortunately, at the moment. What do you think's next for Hangman? Do you think this may be the last time we've seen him in the UFC?
I don't think so. I think he'll definitely fight another fight, but I don't know what division he'll fight in. Like, I think for lightweight he was a good size, so he's tall, so maybe he'll just go back to lightweight. Maybe it was just like a test to see if he can do it again. But there's some interesting matchups at 155, even 145. There's some interesting matchups. Maybe give him someone. Sometimes the UFC sometimes doesn't do this, like especially like Cody Garbrandt and him, for example. Like when they're dropping down division, they just give them straight to the wolves because they have so much experience. But maybe these people dropping down division, they should give them a slightly lesser fighter just to give them a feel in that division again. So maybe they'll give him one more chance in featherweight and maybe give him someone towards the bottom of the division, maybe like a Shane Burgos or something like that.
Oh yeah, a couple cans to crush. Is that right?
I wouldn't say Shane Burgos is can, but just maybe a little lesser in competition.
Like a tall boy. How about that?
Yeah, you can call him a tall boy.
No, I'm in a little bit of high risk, high reward. I mean, I'm with you. I'd love to see him back at lightweight. I mean, 6 feet tall. You got no business weighing in at 145 pounds. I'm sorry. That doesn't make any sense for me if I'm someone who's supposed to be around the same size as Dan Hooker, which I'm not. He's obviously bigger than me. Yeah, I mean, I hope we see him again. Dan Hooker, definitely one of the more entertaining fighters in the UFC, always down for a fight. So we hope to see him. A great Canadian encouragement, a word of encouragement to Dan Hooker. Go back to lightweight and kill it at lightweight, Dan. We believe in you. But back to the positives. Molly McCann, local girl. Kyle, an early contender, dare I say, it's only March. An early contender for the Frozen Glove, knockout of the year with the reverse flying elbow. Man, I mean, let me get your reaction on that one, Kyle. I mean, holy shit, she came out again, local girl, dancing during her walkout. I mean, what do you got to say? What's your thoughts? Let me get your reaction to it.
Yeah, she's definitely probably the most exciting women fighter I've seen in a while. Like just the excitement she had coming out and just like the hype she had coming out. She has a good record, 12-4. Like she's had some losses, but she was solid. Like the other Carolina was good too. Like she was putting it on her for a little while there, and she was just staying in there and just kind of like dirty boxing her up in close range, and then landed that spinning elbow on her and took her out. But yeah, her performance was incredible.
I mean, not to take anything away from Molly McCann. I mean, she looked amazing on Saturday night. I mean, a knockout highlight that she's going to remember for the rest of her life. But she was fighting an unranked opponent. Do you think she has the abilities, or did she show you enough to make you believe that she can keep the momentum going against a better opponent, or at the very least, a ranked opponent?
Yeah, so this was flyweight. I'm just seeing where if she's ranked at all. So she's not ranked either, it looks like. Yeah, so she's not ranked either. So I definitely think she's gonna fight a ranked opponent next. So that would make sense. Give her someone in the bottom like I don't know, like a Cynthia Calvillo, Macy Barber, any of those people or any of those girls in the top or the bottom 10 to 15. And then that'll put her right in the rankings towards potentially contending for a title in the future if she keeps going the way she's going.
I think this women's flyweight division is fairly open from 10 ranked down. Can you agree?
Yeah, I would say so. The women divisions are probably the most open divisions in UFC right now, probably.
So here's what I'm throwing out there. I say, with all due respect, fuck all the girls from 10 to 15 ranked. I give her Jessica I. I think that knockout on such a big stage in front of Dana White and making Dana White just the happiest, giggliest guy on the planet, Uncle Dana, I think she deserves it. I think you give her that big fight so that she appears either as a marquee matchup on the next coming fight night, or even on an entry fight or a prelim main event or something like that, maybe on a pay-per-view. I mean, I think she deserves it. Molly McCann is a showman. Put her in that spotlight, right? What do you think, Kyle? Am I taking crazy pills right now?
No, I think you're perfectly right. Just trying to think of how to word this. Yeah, the women's divisions are more. The talent is more like equal along the division. So even if you throw someone in like the 5 to 10 spot, they're still going to fare pretty well if they can challenge for any of these other girls. So yeah, I think you could be right.
I think you worded that perfectly, Kyle. To quote Austin Powers, since I just watched Austin Powers the other day, you might be a cunning linguist, but I'm a master debater, baby. We move on. All right. We've got Ilia Topuria, who opened the fight night. Spoiler alert, guys. There was a finish on every fight. But the first fight of the night, Ilia Topuria had some beef with Paddy Pimblett, for you diehard fans who saw that in the socials. He came out and absolutely starched his opponent via first round knockout, I believe. It was first round. I'm drawing a blank right now. But
second round, I think. It was the second round.
Second round, okay. But still absolutely starched 1 minute into the second round. You're absolutely right. Earned himself a performance of the night. I mean, this guy is an underrated performer at lightweight. Again, a very stacked division. Kyle, what impressed you the most about Ilia Topuria on Saturday night?
What impressed me the most is probably his composure, because he was hurt early in that fight. He got rocked. Jay Herbert potentially could have took him out if he really swarmed on him and tried to finish him. He didn't. He held off for a bit, and then he was able to come back and KO him pretty much dead in the second round. So I would say his adversity is, I think that's a big thing to look in a fighter, is if they can get through adversity. Some fighters kind of crumble under it and they just kind of, I guess for better words, kind of give up. But he was able to stay in there, stay tough, and it's not often you see someone come back with a devastating KO like that. So he's got some real power in his hands, and he's definitely going to be one to watch in this super exciting lightweight division for sure.
I mean, he's undefeated. There's definitely a certain amount of confidence that comes with never having lost. So I was going to add composure. is something that looked very impressive as well with Ilya Topuria, just how calm he looked in the moment. I mean, with all the fans and everything, and obviously going in as a villain. So congratulations to him on the beautiful performance on Saturday night. Again, he asked for Pimblett next. The UFC kind of seem like they have a bit of a layup here with the already bad blood. If he gets that fight, who you got? Paddy the Baddy or Ilya Topuria?
That's a real tough one. First off, I don't think the UFC, if the UFC is smart, they won't do that fight right away. Since there's a little bit of history there, I think that let this one slow cook for maybe a year or two. And then if they're both climbing the rankings, then you make them fight each other closer to like almost a number one contender. And then like when they're close to fighting for the belt, fight for the number one contender, and then make that just a crazy main event potentially, or at least co-main event. But who would win that fight? Man, it's a tough one. I would almost give it. I'd almost say Topuria, just because like his sheer power he has. But if Paddy Pimblett gets a hold of him, I think that's where he would have the advantage. But for sheer knockout power, and Paddy Pimblett in his last fights, he's been clipped a few times. But I think if he gets clipped by Topuria, I don't think anyone's withstanding that.
Yeah, but Kyle, Paddy Pimblett's a scouser. They don't get knocked out.
I don't know if that applies to Topuria though, but maybe anyone else.
Man, see, that's the difference between you and me, man. I mean, you seem to be able to look at things with a clear mind, whereas I buy right into that hype, baby. Nose first. I'm taking Topuria to win. I'm taking Pimblett against Topuria, but again, that's got to be the fight next. I mean, there's some bad blood there. I mean, I hope the UFC doesn't fumble this one like they did Masvidal and Edwards. I mean, I would have loved to see that one. Now, who knows if that one's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see.
We got a couple of prelim shout outs as well, folks, before we move on to our great Canadian performers of the night. I'm going to let my co-host Kyle take the lead on this one. We're going to start with Mohamed Mokaev, undefeated rookie coming in, loads of hype. Kyle, tell the people why they should be keeping an eye on this kid going forward.
Yeah, again, like I've talked about in the past, like watching these prelims, and I advise anyone that is remotely into fighting to catch some of these prelims, because this is where all the talent is hiding, where the upcoming talent is coming up. And yeah, this guy is no exception. He looks super good. He has a lot of hype behind him. Another just savage, comes out with a flying knee and then chokes out his opponent in like a minute or something like that. So this guy looks like the real deal. 7-0. I'm very curious to see what he can do further on, but he looks for sure like the real deal.
Mohamed Mokaev, folks. Remember the name. I mean, the brilliant Kyle, he hasn't been wrong this year. I mean, he hasn't been wrong. He says he's the real deal. Check him out. Keep an eye on this guy through the socials. Second prelim shout out goes to Mr. Paul Craig, another Brit who put on an outstanding performance on Saturday night. Kyle, let us know what made Mr. Craig land on your list and why he looks so damn good.
Well, besides looking like a character straight out of Game of Thrones, he looked really good. He actually got hurt early on. I think Krylov got him. I'm just trying to think back on the fight. I believe he got knocked down, but then off his back, he was able to throw up a triangle and submit him. So you don't see, I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'll get your opinion on it, but the submissions as of recent have been a little bit lacking, but just in this card alone, it had like a bunch of crazy submissions. And personally, I love to see submissions and like interesting different submissions. So I'm down for it. And yeah, Paul Craig looked impressive. And I think he's going to pose a threat in the light heavyweight division.
I think submissions are, you're right. They seem like they've been lacking in some fights. In my personal opinion, I think that everybody who gets to that top level, like the submission, they seem to kind of nullify each other. And it's the quality of the striking and wrestling that really seems to shine more or less. The wrestling for the control, the striking for the finish. But you're right. It was amazing to see two specialists go at it and all these exchanges and submission. We love to see it. So congratulations to Paul Craig again. We'll keep an eye on him going forward. He was supposed to be on the main card, folks. Got the demotion, unfortunately, but looked great. And I mean, he's surely going to be rewarded by the brass at the UFC going forward. We move on to our performers of the night, starting with the great Canadian performers of the night. Kyle, give me your men or women. Who you got? Who's your person?
There might be a few here I have to pick, but
a couple special men, folks. You got a couple.
I'm gonna go my first one. I'm gonna go with Topuria for my first one. Just like I said, he looked super impressive. He faced adversity and was able to flatline the guy after that. Like, what more can you ask for, really? I'll go two more because this card is just too crazy. Paddy Pimblett, obviously. People wanted to see if he was the real deal. He proved it. He proved he's the real deal with the skills he has and what he's able to do and get a finish. And then it's tough. I want to name so many more, but I'm gonna go with Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall looked good against really good against Alexander Volkov. Volkov being a former Bellator heavyweight champion. I think he was an M1 heavyweight champion, and he's beat a lot of good contenders in the heavyweight division, and he steamrolled him basically. So those are my three top performers. I know we don't choose too many, we don't choose a bunch, but this card is the exception. You have to choose a few.
Oh, I can't blame you. I mean, hey, I give it to every single Brit on the main card because they all delivered, except for Topuria. He's not British, but he delivered. Man, folks, again, I can't stress this enough. If you got UFC Fight Pass, watch this card. If you want to stream it, we don't endorse it, but stream this shit because this was an unreal one. So difficult to choose, but I'm going to give it to Tom Aspinall. I do think that he was being a little bit overshadowed this week. A lot of people were talking about Paddy Pimblett. A lot of people talking about Dan Hooker. Not a lot of people talking about Tom Aspinall. He was kind of overlooked a little bit in the main event, I felt personally. And I felt like he absolutely delivered with a statement win. I mean, Pimblett was rocked. Hooker didn't win. So, you know, I got to give it to Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is my great Canadian performer of the night. Now we move on to the great Canadian fight of the night. Again, 4 finishes, quite early in fights. Difficult to pick one. So I'm going to let you go first, Kyle.
I gotta do this to me, okay? Why can't we just pick a bunch, you know? But no, I'll try to keep it original here. I'll try to pick just one. It was for fight of the night, correct?
That's right.
I think of the one that was most. I'm going to go with Molly McCann and Coralina. That was the most. It ended in round 3. It was a fairly competitive fight. Molly McCann getting a little bit had more of the exchanges, but she was able to get that KO and finish her off. And again, you don't see too many of these women. I can't remember the last women fight that I've seen where she was like out cold, like unconscious. So I'm going to go with the Molly McCann fight.
Yeah, you know what, Kyle? I'm going to join you on this one. I'm going to go with the Molly McCann fight as well. I mean, she came out absolutely blitzing in the first round, and Luana Carolina showed an outstanding chin. I mean, the fact that she was able to get out of those first couple of minutes was incredibly impressive. That fight, it was the most competitive one that we saw on Saturday night, and we're giving it to Molly McCann and Luana Carolina. And that was definitely the most competitive one. They are the great Canadian fight of the night. Final shout out. We completely forgot to give a shout out to the returning Gunnar Nelson. My apologies, folks. First fight in over 2.5 years. Kind of a lackluster fight. I mean, this one was not a finish, unfortunately, but definitely overshadowed by the other brilliant finishes that we had on this card. But Kyle, you had picked Gunnar Nelson. I mean, he comes back on a 2.5-year delay. Sato didn't put up the greatest fight, but did Gunnar Nelson do enough to restore some faith maybe in him going forward?
I think so. He looked very vintage Gunnar Nelson with some improvements. his main thing he had before was his control, and he was how well he's able to control people, and he had that, and he probably got better at it. The only thing I would say about him is his striking. The way he strikes is kind of like Conor McGregor-ish, but
Yeah.
he leaves himself very open. So that could still be his downfall. If he tightens up that, then yeah, he could be definitely one to watch in the welterweight division.
I mean, look, to tell you his record recently. I mean, he's got a loss to Santiago Ponzinibbio in 2017. This is his last 5 fights. He's got a win against Alex Oliveira via submission in December of 2018. He waited a year and lost to Leon Edwards, who's fighting for the championship now. He lost to Gilbert Burns, who fought for the championship, and now has a win against Takashi Sato. I mean, this guy's fought the best in the division. If he can, you're right. If he can maybe chisel down his striking a little bit. I mean, again, congratulations to Gunnar Nelson. Still impressive to see someone off a long layoff. We can't have a Great Canadian Fight Show episode without talking about the Big Mac, Conor McGregor. And the talk on the street, we love the talk on the street, is that he's coming back and he's going to go right into a championship fight against Usman. Kyle, do you see a scenario where McGregor gets this done and becomes the first ever 3-division champ by a knockout? Do you think he does it?
I mean, anything's possible. If you look how, like, it depends. Like, I don't know how big Conor's going to get. He's still fairly short, but if he can get big enough, like, if he can try to become like a Masvidal or Masvidal size. Masvidal is not like a super big welterweight, but if he can get up to that size, I mean, it's possible if he's been putting on the weight. Masvidal didn't look bad against Usman in the first and second fight leading up until he was knocked out. He put up a fight, so if he can put up a fight against Usman, I don't see why Conor couldn't if he puts on the size. And if that size brings more knockout power, I'm in. Like, I'm throwing my money at it if they do it. Why not?
Oh, you best believe. I mean, hey, it's always exciting when the Mac Daddy comes back. I think right now the word is he's walking around 170, so he just doesn't want to cut weight and wants to step right into the fight. I mean, he would definitely be the smaller man than Usman. Do you think Usman strikes with him just to kind of make a point, or does he just wrestle the shit and nullify him?
Just seeing what Masvidal's height is. I'm kind of comparing them. He's 1.8 meters. Do you know how 1.8 meters is? Oh, he's 5'11".
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just bringing up height, and I'm seeing Conor McGregor's. I'm very curious. So Masvidal's 5'11", Conor's 5'9", so 2 inches, yeah. But if he can get bigger, like if he can get up to 180 and fight at 180, man, I see it being possible. I don't know if it's hopeful. I don't foreseeing him being the favorite in that fight or anything. But if he can come in there and have way more power or something like that and just clip Usman, man, we're going, as they call it, Sizzler.
I love his talks, man. Just so much shoulda, woulda, coulda. Can McGregor do it? I mean, he's always got that puncher's chance. That's why, I mean, hey, you got to love him as a fighter, not as a person, because he hasn't done a whole lot for us fans to like him as a person. But thank you very much, folks. That puts a bow on episode 18 of the Great Canadian Fight Show. Again, thank you very much for tuning in. If you like what you see, like and subscribe on our channel. Follow us on Instagram, the Great Canadian Fight Show 2022. And follow our quick picks segments, which we will release every week towards the end of the week, prepping you for the weekend's fights by giving you our picks of those fights. Before we log off, brilliant Kyle, since you got me again in the last fight, I'm going to let you go ahead and have the last word.
Yeah, not too much to say. Again, tune into these fights. Like, even like this card, it had some good fighters. Like on paper, this card was really, really good on paper. but when you actually watch the card, like the hype was unbelievable. So you're always surprised by some of these cards that come up, and maybe they don't look the best, but they end up being complete bangers. So tune into some of these fights. Tune into our show if you want some briefings and some interesting news or interesting picks, and we'll give it to you here.
It's a good day to be a fight fan. It's a good day to be a Canadian. Thank you very much, folks. We are tuning off. Have yourselves a great night, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you, guys.